This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Returning to Coffee with Kenobi for a cup with us, he's actually drinking something hot, a hot beverage now. He just returned from the United States in an incredible whirlwind tour of all things Lucasfilm and Indiana Jones, including a stop at the Indiana Jones and a Dial of Destiny red carpet Hollywood premiere. You know him as the host of the Indy Cast, the one and only Ed Dolista. Ed, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be back.
I am so impressed with you. I mean, I've never been shy about my love for you in the show, but every time I open Facebook, you're like running for the mayor of Hollywood. You're talking to Frank Oz, Steven Spielberg, John Rhys-Davies. You're going all over the place. Talk about your amazing trip. But actually, let's rewind. Let's talk about when you first got word you're invited to the Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny Hollywood premiere.
Well, I've got to say it was a bit of discombobulation here at the Dolista household because we had been planning, and I've been talking to you about heading to the States around the time of the premiere, and we knew what the date was for the official opening of to the general public of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So a year ahead, I'd booked in some long service leave, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to be presumptuous and assume I'm going to get an invitation because, I would never do that. But I do know that I'd love to see Dial of Destiny with Mitch from the Indy Cast and a few of the Indy Casters if they're available. So let's make it a bit of a holiday and a bit of an adventure. And then I was talking to you about, where would you stay if it was going to happen, or where do you think it would happen? And you suggested Lowe's Hollywood Hotels. And okay, let's have a look at that. So I booked in there at a certain time, and then we got some wonderful. Being out of school holidays, we got a wonderful premium economy flight all booked, which was lovely and everything like that. And we had everything sorted. And going, we'll see. And then closer to the date, there were rumors swirling around that the premiere was going to be like 2 weeks earlier, and then it premiered in Cannes, and then all this sort of things happened. And then, so we're going, oh gosh, okay, I'm going to miss it. You know what? That takes a bit of pressure off, because I was a little bit anxious too about, oh my God, what do you wear at a premiere? What do you do? And what's going on? So basically, Mitch and I had just finished recording our, I think it was our last Crusade special on Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure, because we record on my time Saturday mornings, Friday afternoons, and then pretty much hung up, getting ready to edit, and Mitch messaged me going, oh my God, I've just got an invitation. And I checked my emails and going, oh my gosh, I just got an invitation. Except it was for I think it was for Wednesday. My date, I'm still not sure what day it is. I'm a little jet lagged. It was for a Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. And I was flying out on Sunday, the following Sunday. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it by a few days. And Kelly goes, you have to go. You have to go. So we had booked everything from our, we booked our flight through a travel agent, but everything else I did myself. So we quickly ran down to the travel agent and trying to go, can we switch flights and everything like that? And it was a mess, to be honest. And it ended up because Kelly had to still fly out on a little bit later. So anyway, we ended up getting a flight, which was good. So I flew out the day before. Cost a lot of money, but it was worth it, I can tell you, to change that flight.
Yes.
And then trying to figure out, okay, I need to stay at a hotel. Mitch had already booked stuff, so we stayed. It was myself, Mitch, and Les David from Throw Me the Idol. So we all shared a hotel at Lowe's Hollywood Hotel. Fun. And we were there the night before, and I think I was up for pretty much 24 hours awake for that whole period. And it was just the most amazing experience to have. There was I'm sure everyone who was following it has seen all the, the pictures of all the indies and everything like that. And we were there on the red carpet. There was a bunch of people invited, fans, to dress up as Indiana Jones. That was another thing, going, oh my gosh, I don't really have Jack Sparrow. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
But not an actual proper Indiana Jones outfit. Or I'm sort of not. I wouldn't call myself like Darth Kmart, where I've just got cheesy stuff to put together. I've got an official hat and I've got an official jacket and things like that. But the rest of it was more of a feel. So
piecemeal.
Yeah, so I was but I look pretty good. I thought I looked pretty good.
Look terrific.
Thank you. And so, some people are who, like Matt Wacker and these other guys who are look amazing. They're 100% accurate, but I think I think everyone was really accepting, which was really good, because I thought I would have been, thrown out of town if I'd gone, that's not accurate, or he didn't wear that, or it's on the wrong side or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But they were great, and then a bunch went into the. We had to line up. There was a bit of a delay. A bunch were in at the actual red, sort of like there was a pit or a mosh pit with some indie fans. Now, Mitch and I didn't get in there, and we sort of had to walk through, and we're going, oh, this is a little disappointing. I've flown all the way, So we ended up walking through, but everything happens for a reason. And I got to speak with Karen Allen to say hello to her, which was wonderful. And Ethan, the young boy who plays Teddy, got to have a very, very brief chat and just say congratulations. And he seemed like a really nice kid, which was great. And then Mitch and I are just standing at the end of the red carpet, so past the press line where everyone is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep. But all the other indie fans are bunched up, trying to get a quick selfie with, what have you. And my goal really wasn't to Mitch and I have both been very blessed in that we have met Harrison Ford before. So I feel like I didn't need to do that. If it happened, that would be amazing. If it didn't happen, that's okay. So I was just happy to be there and soak everything up. And we then met Les and Laird Malamud was there, which was fantastic. And we got to catch up, and we were just waiting there. And I noticed the two guys from Hasbro, who do the I've forgotten their names,
Patrick
and one of the designers, and Patrick. So I go up to them and have a bit of a chat to them and just say, I love the figures, and it's great what you're doing. And they said, we've got a few more coming out, which is wonderful, and which is great. So we're just standing at the end. So all the press, basically, I'm doing hand movements, so I apologize, but all the press, once they do the press, they basically walk past us, and Toby Jones walked past us, and Kretschner walked past us, and the Dutch giant, who you couldn't miss, cast a shadow over the entire thing. And so we're walking there, and that's great. John Rhys-Davies walked past us. Huy Quan, who Mitch knows from the convention, quickly walked past. Mitch yelled out, but he didn't hear, and going, oh, that's okay. And then all of a sudden, we see George Lucas. So George Lucas walks past us. I was in the presence of George Lucas, which was enough. Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy, which was great. And then Steven Spielberg appears. And I don't know what compelled me, but I just said, hey, Steve, which I would normally I'm Mr. Spielberg, or I'm always pretty polite, but I don't know what it was. And Mitch and I are the only two dressed at the end as Indiana Jones at this, because everyone else is in that mosh pit. And he looks at us and he goes, wow. And he's surprised by what we look at. And I never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd have Steven Spielberg see me, let alone look at me dressed as Indiana Jones and be impressed by
you got a wow from the master.
I know. And then Mitch asked him about the Fabelmans of all things, as we're having a really sort of a pretty brief interaction, because he did stand and, converse with us. And then Mitch asked him about the camera move, and he goes, well, what do you think? And then he waved to us and continue on. I've got this amazing photo that looks like it should be out of People magazine or something like that. And then he walked on. And all those other indie guys, they had a great experience, but none of them got to speak to Steven Spielberg. So I thought that was the most amazing thing. And then they were trying to usher us in as quickly as we can to get into the movie. And we're going, well, we're going to hold off as long as we can to try and get to see if Harrison Ford, because we could see him and we could see Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Mads Mikkelsen and everything like that. But it was just they were just a bit too forceful without being forceful. So they pushed us on. Anyway, so then we got in. We had amazing seats in the mezzanine. Oh, I don't know. people were on the ground on the lower floor, the orchestra. It's usually called in theater. We were on the mezzanine, but we were dead center, and the screen was set up. We had perfect view, and of course, the people came on. The creatives. It was wonderful to see them all. Again, I'm sure everyone has seen that video, and of that. And then Steven Spielberg says, really, Indiana Jones is three people. It's Harrison Ford, it's George Lucas, and it's John Williams. And then the screen goes up, and then, oh my gosh, there is John Williams and a full orchestra, and it was absolutely amazing. We joked, you know what? If the film was no good, and it's fantastic, I love it, it wouldn't matter, because the experience, and that was the most amazing thing that I've really experienced. And my many trips to the United States, I've been very lucky. I haven't had an opportunity to see John Williams. He's always been on when we were flying out or within a few days. And I never thought I'd get the chance to see John Williams live. And I did. And he did three amazing pieces of music. And it was just amazing. And then, of course, we had the film on top of that, which is fantastic. And then Mitch afterwards decided to text Key to see if he was around. And Key texted him back saying, "Yeah, I'm at the premiere premiere party at the Roosevelt Hotel. Come on in. I'm near the food." So we go, I don't think we're going to be able to get in, and we don't want to crash anything, because we didn't want to, we were very grateful to being there, and we don't want to be, those people. Right. So we basically went there and we're waiting, and I think it was myself, Les, and Laird and Mitch. And Laird decided to, Les said, "Well, why don't you just give him a call?" So he called him, and he goes, "Okay, I'm trying to find you and trying to find you." And there he arrived, and there was Key. And Mitch was saying, "Oh, Ed's come from Australia, so it was lovely to meet him. I've got a lovely autograph of from Key from when he was at Terrificon." But, he was, I don't know if you've ever met Key, but it's just, I have not. It's he just like wonderful. He is such a, what you see on TV is what you get. He's such a genuine, embracing and lovely and genuinely interested. And that was lovely. So that was to top to top the end of the night, which was amazing. And then we went out to the In-N-Out Burger like midnight, just down the road, and we recorded a roundtable, which I'm going to edit today. And then basically after that, it just sort of goes, okay, well, what's happening now? So everyone else left. Mitch was there. We went to Disney California Adventure, Mitch and I, and then Mitch left, and I had to stay 2 more nights waiting for my wife to arrive. So I had booked in at the Roosevelt Hotel, and my room wasn't ready, and I'm just waiting there. And I'm editing the Indy Cast and our Mitch and Ed show, because we recorded a live after the fact show. And I'm sitting down, beautiful lobby. It's where the first Academy Awards were. Everyone should, if you're ever in Hollywood, you should go there and have a look. It's beautiful. So I'm sitting there, and a guy comes and sits at the desk, the table in the lobby, just, very close by, with some FedEx packages. And all of a sudden, this familiar person walks in and sits down, and it's John Rhys-Davies. And I'm going, "Oh, okay, that's right, Lois." My cat is excited as well. Yeah, so. And I'm going, "Oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do?" So I took a sneaky pick, and the guy's giving him the retro collection Sulla figure and the Adventure Series Sulla figure, which unbeknownst to me, a week or two later, appears with him in the Hasbro Pulse video. So it all makes sense after the fact. So the guy leaves, and John exits. So I thought, I have to do something. So I went up and just was very polite, and I didn't say, hey, Johnny. I said, "Mr. Davis, I was at the premiere, blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Oh, of course." And then, we had a lovely photo. And I just said, "I just wanted to say thank you, because you were the very first interview that I did on the podcast 16 years ago. And I just wanted to say thank you. And, I really loved your performance." And he goes, "Well, come on." I'm going, "What?" "Yes, come on, let's do an interview." So I said, "What?" And he goes, if you take care of the fans will take care of you. So let's sit down. So I'm going, oh my gosh, because I wasn't ready for an interview or anything like that. So we sat down for about, I know. Well, we sat down for about 10, it must have been about 10 or so minutes, because I was conscious I didn't want to take too much of his time either. And I was scrambling to come up with intelligent questions. So we talked a little bit about Dial of Destiny, and his performance, and how his, for us at the Indy Cast, he never was a sidekick. He was an equal to Indy. So it's great to see him, back. And and I asked him a little bit about working with Sean Connery and Denham Elliott. So he had some stories about that, and a great Spielberg story. And it was wonderful. So that was the end. And that, even though it was just the beginning of my US adventures. So, Kelly finally arrived, and we did Galaxy's Edge, which, oh my gosh, we did.
Your first time, right?
Yeah, it was. And oh my Lord, we met up with a friend of ours, Mark, at Galaxy's Edge, and I ended up buying a Boba Fett rocket pack and the wrist gauntlets, because I want to do a Boba Fett costume, and that was pretty cool. We had an absolutely amazing time there. That I think we spent 2 whole days at Disneyland proper, and most of the time we rode Rise of Resistance 4 times, Smuggler's Run 4 times. It was amazing. And then we're off to Connecticut to catch up with Mitch, where we caught up with Jerry Ordway, the wonderful artist behind Batman 89 and Death of Superman and so many other things. And we all caught up and, just having a good time with Mitch, checking out Connecticut. And we then Indiana Mick came, and we saw it in IMAX, Dial of Destiny, which was fantastic. It was great to see it again, because that whole night I was saying it's actually was a bit like a wedding, where you sort of go, what just happened, or did this? Mm-hmm. And it's funny, the second time we saw Dial of Destiny, we were just really tired as well. And it's like, I just need to be really 100%. I don't know, so I can take everything in. So there was so much. So, and then we were off to, ended up in New York for a couple of weeks, which was wonderful. Met Bob Gale, the creator of Back to the Future, 1941, though I'm sure he's, most people wouldn't be too happy about that, but I love 1941. Got to see Back to the Future, the musical. Caught up with Frank Oz, who was the nicest guy.
How did that happen?
We were seeing a play called The Grey House, which was not a very good play. Actually, no, it wasn't great. It had Tatiana, I've forgotten her last name.
Maslany?
She-Hulk. Yes. And it was like, the cast was great. It just missed the mark a little bit. It's like a horror. It was a bit like a horror story, but just wasn't as good. I think they just couldn't end it. Didn't know how to end it. So we exited and go, oh, that was good. And I'm going, oh my gosh, Kelly, that is Frank Oz. And Kelly's going, where? And I'm going, I look, because I know Frank Oz. And he was there talking to some people, and Kelly's going, well, say hello. And I'm going, well, I can't. He's in a conversation. And I didn't want to be, rude. That's his private time and everything like that. So I said, okay, let's, he's crossing the road. So I'll cross the road as well. So we both crossed the road, and then he decided to, and he walked straight towards me, him and, which we found out is his son. And I go, oh, excuse me, Mr. Oz. And he goes, yes, in that voice. Yeah. And I said, I just wanted to say, I'm a huge fan, and I just wanted to say, just wanted to say hello, and just, thank you for everything. And he goes, oh, great. That's lovely. And Kelly interjects, thank goodness, saying, oh, well, don't forget to introduce yourself. So we introduced ourselves, and we just said, we were just at the Grey House. And he goes, well, what did you think of it? And then we had this huge theater conversation. And, it was wonderful. And it was just like having a chat with a, regular person. I think because I wasn't going, oh, remember in the Muppets when you did this, or when you directed, Little Shop, it was just having a conversation about theater. And he asked about, I said, well, I was just here for the opening of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And it's great. And he goes, oh, is it good? And I said, it's great. You need to see it on the big screen. He goes, oh, good. I'll go and see it. And, this is my son, and, we'll go see it. And I go, oh, lovely. And he was the loveliest. And I said, would it be okay if I have a photo? And he goes, of course. And his son took a wonderful photo, and
fantastic.
It was great. So it was it was, the Hollywood gods were smiling on myself for this whole trip, and it was an amazing experience.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
KiwiCo, that's KIWICO, is defining the future of play by making it engaging, enriching, and seriously fun. They create super cool hands-on projects designed to create a lifelong love of learning among kids. Each month, KiwiCo delivers crates packed with fun and sparks creativity with kid-friendly topics and options. This month, we had the do-it-yourself kids bottle rocket, which is like the classics you would always loved when you were young or you saw on TV. Where you design and create your own bottle rocket, and at the end, you get to launch it into the air, and it is so much fun. Mason and I had a terrific time doing this, making it come to life, and it promotes STEAM, right? It promotes all these great things that are happening, exciting things happening in the world of education. And as an educator and as a parent, you know I absolutely love, treasure, and value these things. These crates cover a ton of interesting topics and provide real hands-on skills for kids to explore. From engineering robots to learning about the science of cooking, there's something for every kid. The best thing about that Create Your Own Bottle Rocket is that Mason likes the process of building as well as playing with the actual item that KiwiCo sends over. And it's fun to see his mind work as he learns, sometimes when you do these things, they are more challenging, but in a very good way. And seeing him get his hands on it and learn from failure, learn from, hey, this didn't actually work, but let me try it a different way. I feel like that legitimately hands-on skills and teaches things to kids that will transcend anything that they do as youngsters, because that kind of perseverance and that love and passion for learning, as well as enjoying life too, are what KiwiCo helps to facilitate. Your child will definitely get those cool hands-on science, art, and geography projects delivered to the door every month. They'll be so excited to see these arrive in the mail. The day the boxes arrive is like their favorite day of the month. You'll be surprised at how high quality, in fact, these materials are too. These are really engineering, science, and art projects for kids. You're not going to believe what your kids can build and accomplish with KiwiCo. You can give them the tools to learn new skills, build new experiences, and make new connections to the broader world. The best part? Watching their confidence grow as big as their smile. Redefine learning with play. Explore hands-on projects that build creative confidence and problem-solving skills with KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month, plus free shipping on any crate line at kiwico.com/CWK. That's 50% off your first month at kiwico.com/CWK. No, I'm so happy for you. I mean, good things happen to good people, but great things happen to great people. And I consider you just a great person because your sincerity and your authenticity, and you're a true fan and a true human. And I love how you approach it too, because I very much believe actors and professionals in this industry, to us, it's like they're like demigods, but to them, they're people doing a job. And I think if you approach them with grace and respect, and try not to fanboy, for lack of a better term, I feel like good things happen. So it is so cool to see that. Now, I also was invited to the premiere, as you know. I was not able to go because I was with a number of Coffee with Kenobi listeners on the Halcyon, which is great into of itself. But I remember seeing the invite, and I remember, because I've been fortunate to be invited to a couple of these things. I remember reading it, and it said, "Wear your best Indiana Jones adventure attire." And I thought, the first thing I honestly thought was, "Oh, I can't wait to see what Ed wears." That's exactly, and obviously Steven Spielberg got the memo too, because of that great interaction, which is tremendous. So you saw Harrison. I think you sent me a picture, or I saw it on one of your feeds. But you were fairly close-ish to him. Was he like signing autographs or talking with folks?
He was doing that press tunnel or whatever it is. So as he was walking and they were trying to because everything started a little bit late. The security or whoever was organizing it were a little antsy and just trying to move things along. They had all these celebrities and they had everything, and obviously the orchestra, that unbeknownst to us, waiting and everything like that. So they were pretty close, but only there was also opposite the El Capitan. I went to the El Capitan and saw Elemental, which was wonderful.
Oh, good.
And which, that's a whole nother thing, that's a beautiful theater in itself.
Yes.
And so they had that was cordoned off. So people, just the general public could, sort of yell out and see a little gap from there along the street. And a few of them, John Rhys-Davies and I can't remember who else, broke the line to, go say hello to them, which was great. But yeah, they were ushering them pretty close. So we were reasonably close to Harrison and Phoebe, but they were obviously, as the cast got more substantial, they were later in the day. So yeah, they're trying to push us, but they also had some fantastic at the end. They had the Hamilton watch display where you could do a little thing, and they had the costumes, which was great, just to see Indy's and Sala's costumes, up close and personal as well. But that's again where a lot of people in suits were just hanging around, and us, which is great. So so it worked out for us, which is really
love
cool.
that. I love that. So many things go through my mind, but let's talk about the movie itself. I know you've got a lot of great stuff on the Indy Cast, so I certainly don't want to steal any of the nuggets that you've placed in there. But I do want to ask you, and I'm not. I did a review last week of the show because I've only seen it once at the time of this recording of Coffee with Kenobi, and I loved it, but I also struggled with it. So you're going to be my Indiana Jones therapist. You know how much I love Crystal Skull. I think you and I are some of the biggest advocates for that film.
Yes.
I think I made the fatal mistake of going into it like I did with Phantom Menace, or even The Force Awakens to a degree. Where I tried to be mellow about it, but I couldn't. I mean, it's the last Indiana Jones movie with Harrison Ford and I don't know if I had expectations. I was so expecting like this swashbuckling adventure, carefree sort of a thing. But it really wasn't that. I feel like it was the first Indiana Jones movie that truly took the character a little more seriously, gave him a very human, realistic persona of a man who's very much lost faith in himself, in the world. He's lost his son. He's lost the love of his life. And I feel like he spends the majority of the movie trying to sort of dig down deeply. And I feel like it really shows itself the most strongly when people get killed. Like the violence in this, I think is very, it's not cartoony or comic book. The people in the university die. His friend the Antonio Banderas character is murdered, and Indy has a massive version of that. So I think what I sort of philosophized was, I think I absolutely need to see it again. But I think it's hard for me to see my larger than life superhero man crush, Harrison Ford / Indiana Jones, vulnerable. And it's almost like it affects you in a way where you're like, gosh, your heroes are vulnerable. That makes them more relatable. In the classic Greek myth, the more human the hero, the more we could relate to them. So, what is your response to that?
Well, I agree. I mean, I think this is probably the most realistic portrayal of Indy that we have seen. Raiders to a certain degree as well, but then he sort of moved into, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade. He was a little more of not a superhero, but things were a little lighter. Even though Temple of Doom was pretty dark, I think there was that. Whereas, how do we see him? I mean, I won't talk about the first 25 minutes yet, but when we see Indy proper 1969. He's drinking heavily, which is something that was a bit of a shock. He is a little defeated. He's you see that obviously they don't explicitly say it right away, but you see that flag that knowing that Mutt has been killed, which I don't know they needed to do that. That's
Interesting.
So yeah, there's the triangular flag, saying obviously that Mutt has passed away, and Mitch and I had been surmising that we bet Mutt has been killed in Vietnam months and months and months ago, if not a year ago. I think we were, one of the theories we threw up on the wall obviously stuck with that. So it was hard. I think one thing is it's a bit more of a for all the fantastical things that happened in this film, it is quite realistic. The deaths too, we were quite shocked by that, and it's not it's not soldiers being shot. It's just innocent people,
civilians,
civilians being shot, and it does show how ruthless, obviously, Voller's people are. But that was a little bit of a shock. So that took a little bit out of it, because I wasn't expecting that. I probably should have. I mean, I've only seen Logan once, but I know what that was like as well.
That's a good point.
Mangold's other work. So it's probably, it shouldn't have been super obvious, but that's what I was thinking, that it was a little bit of a shock. But I'm glad that we got to see Indy not like that for very, very long. We only saw moments of that, and we saw this, vulnerable sort of. It's hard to see your heroes in that sort of position, I think, and it was a little bit, took you aback a little bit. I thought, but there were also moments of that old Indy magic coming together, which was great, and I'm glad that they didn't end with him in. That there was, hope, and you imagine there are more adventures to come. Not that we'll see them, but there are more adventures to come with that, that hat grab and that hope at the end of the film.
Interesting. See, I took that as very symbolically at the end, where the fact that he kept that hat under his bed and the whip, as Sella tells us, but in the end, when he grabs the hat off the fire escape and puts it back on, they make a big show on that when Marion says, "Are you back?" He's back. He's back in his own skin. I don't think he necessarily needs to be an adventurer anymore. In fact, I don't know that, as he says to us, I don't know if his body could handle it. But the fact that he's got his swagger back, and that hat is such a big part of that persona of who he is and how he views himself and how he presents himself, that I feel like all is right with the world. He can just die a happy man because he's got his real trophy, his wife.
Absolutely. I think that's right. And, maybe some of you bumped into him seeing, as in his late 70s, because he is playing 10 years younger in the film, in the cinema at Star Wars, going to the premiere of Star Wars in New York at one of the theaters going, he looks a bit familiar, this Han Solo guy. Who knows?
So one last thing, you said you would talk about it later, but talk to me about the CGI at the beginning. I was a little bit tougher on it. I'm not usually that guy. The only thing that took me out of it was I feel like Harrison Ford's eyes are so expressive, and there were times when I would see the eyes and it reminded me of the kids in, oh gosh, that Christmas movie I can never remember. Where you
Polar Express.
Polar Express. Yeah, there's a part of me that was like that, and I wish, because selfishly, I mean, like somebody else, I want Indy to continue in some way. And I don't think any fictional character is identified with the actor who portrays him as much as Harrison Ford is with Indiana Jones, Spider-Man, Batman, James Bond. Other actors can play them and play them beautifully. And I'm sure it could happen. Then we just are not used to that in our lifetimes. What if they would have put like a younger actor in for the opening sequence instead of doing all that CGI work? I don't know. Well, it doesn't really matter. I still.
Well, we know that Anthony Gruber was the body double for.
That's right.
That
which had to make you happy.
So I think for us the disconnect is that we know that it's, as an older person, we know that's not young Harrison Ford. And so there's always going to be that little bit of a.
The voice.
Yeah, there's going to be that little bit of a disconnect. Whereas my niece and nephew, when they saw Rogue One, they didn't know Peter Cushing had passed away. They thought he was that. They thought that was the actor. They didn't have any idea that was a CG, created character over top of the other actor. So for me, it was a little bit. Yeah, the eyes sometimes, and that's what Kelly said. She goes, "Oh, those eyes were just a little bit," because they were pretty aggressive in there. This was not a 30-second young Jack Sparrow walking past where you're going, oh, that's pretty good. Or, Michael Douglas or whatever, I think it was pretty darn good. And once you just lean into it, that's a rollicking adventure. That first 25 minutes is fantastic. It's, Indy at his finest, I think.
And pretty bold and exciting. That was what took over 100 ILM artist to create that opening sequence.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, Harrison Ford has got a unique face, and I know a lot of artists have a lot of trouble capturing it, and I think they did an amazing job. It's a great sequence and worthy of any Indiana Jones adventure.
And groundbreaking, absolutely. So now I'm going to ask you the toughest question. I've been thinking about this for weeks, and I don't think I can actually properly answer it myself. So, can you rank the films from your favorite to not quite as good, but still pretty great? I don't know if I can do it right now. I can do it with Star Wars, which is way more to choose from.
Yeah. Okay. Still, Raiders is still number one for me. Okay, so that's
easy.
A given. I fluctuate, and you it used to be always Temple Last Crusade second, then Temple of Doom, and then I find it hard to like King of the Crystal Skull. And as we've said, we both love that film. Yes. For me, it's got a lot of things tied to it that aren't the film, the creation of the Indy Cast, meeting all these friends, all this sort of stuff. So every time I watch that, I think of all those things, they're somewhere in the back of my mind. And the same with Dial of Destiny. I've seen it 3 times, and every time I see it, I think back to the premiere, seeing it in the movie, seeing it with Steven Spielberg and James Mangold and Harrison Ford, and all those. Even if he ducked out for a burrito or something during the movie, it doesn't matter. All those things are tied to the film. So I don't think I can rank it yet because I've only seen it 3 times. Whereas even Crystal Skull I've seen maybe 50 or 60 times.
Yeah.
And certainly Raiders of the Lost Ark, I've lost count, and Temple and Last Crusade. So it's there. So it's there somewhere. It's only
it's
probably
in the 5.
It's only 5th probably at the moment because I just haven't seen it enough, and I need to see it a few more times. And there's so much, when you see a film for the first time, it's like there was so much. I haven't even had a chance to properly listen to John Williams' score yet. So because we've only just got back a few days ago, and I've got a lot of things going on. So I'm going, I need to listen to that. Or there's things I want to look at. I was on that train at the start. There's all that stuff I need to look at. What's that? The Spear of Destiny. How cool is that? That they use that. Oh, what about this? There's so much to take in. So I'm still waiting. So, maybe in a couple of months, and when it comes out on, 4K, I'll definitely be, buying that. And maybe they'll do another box set. Who knows? Hopefully with some deleted scenes, because there were so many deleted or scenes that were in the trailer that weren't in the actual movie. There's listening to James Mangold. I'm sure I think he usually does commentaries, and we've never had a commentary on an Indiana Jones film because Spielberg doesn't do them. So, that will be another insight to hear all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, all I'd say is to all your listeners and viewers is just, if you haven't seen it, go out and see it.
Definitely.
It's a great fun movie. I don't know why, it's not bomb, people, the internet, people love to be toxic. They love to grab something. We call it in Australia tall poppy syndrome. If something is successful, let's cut it down to size, because how dare it be successful? Or
that's right.
How dare you want something to be successful? Or what I really hate is that people, I don't mind if people don't like it. That's fine. That's, we can't like everything, but they're so enthusiastic in their hate for something, and how dare you like something like that? So don't.
That's Romeo and Juliet, right? It has much to do with love and less to do with hate. They just love to hate.
Yep.
And that's why shows like ours, I think, have continued to flourish, because we believe in you can find pearls in anything, and we're not in this business to be negative. I mean, I think there's tact in being critical, but also realizing and putting things sort of in their own just perspective. And I think I should apologize too, because I made you try to rank the movies. That was very unfair.
No,
I don't think I can do it either.
That's okay. We all do, and it does all change, with how you're feeling or what have you, or things like that. Like last, Crystal Skull as well. Then that's the last indie film that I got to see with both my mum and dad. They're sadly no longer with us, and that's something that was a big part of my life. So that factors in. And is Dial of Destiny perfect? No, there's a few things I would have loved to have. Antonio Banderas was fantastic, great, but I really would have loved to have seen George Harris play Captain Katanga instead in that role.
Me too.
Mads Mikkelsen was wonderful. One thing Kelly said when she first came, how the hell did he survive that bash? And seeing it in IMAX the second time in America, you could see he has this scar.
Oh,
but I'm thinking he does have a scar. I'm going, wouldn't it have been good? Obviously, you can't have him have with a bleeding eyeball because that's his James Bond character. But maybe if he had just an eye patch. Something. Every villain is better with an eye patch.
Absolutely.
Or I was saying, that wonderful. I don't think it was Jim Steranko who did that concept art, but maybe have a robotic arm. And like someone was going, well, they did that in. I think was it Cable in. I'm a DC guy, not a Marvel guy, but
yes, yeah.
But he had so maybe that's a little bit too much. But I felt like they could have maybe given him a little bit more because he really hit.
That sound effect was Mason and I went, ooh, and I love that you said that because my views of some of these movies have changed too. In fact, forever I was like, well, Temple Doom's way low on my list. It's too dark, blah, blah. But then I watched again with Mason. It was his first time watching. It was about 3 weeks ago. And I loved it. And he loved it. Yep. And he said, Dad, I love Short Round so much. I feel like if he was real, he would be my best friend. And he meant it.
Yeah.
For a 10-year-old to say that, just how could that not raise the stock of all of it in your eyes?
Of course.
And it was just great fun seeing Harrison be in such terrific shape. I think Last Crusade is the most personal because of the vulnerability and the constant wonderful dialogue between himself and Sean Connery. And there's so much to love about all of these movies. And, in Dial of Destiny, the real heart, and who doesn't want to look like Harrison Ford at 80 years old? I'd like to look like that now. And he's, significantly older than me. So it was just terrific fun.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
It's always terrific fun to chat with you, my friend. I was really hoping this would work out today. I'm glad you're able to get out of your cocoon of adrenaline to join us, and it's been terrific to chat with you. Please let us know what's going on with the Indy Cast and with you and Mitch's YouTube channel.
Well, we're still here with the Indy Cast. I've got we've got our basically coming out our next episode. I'm not sure which order it'll be, but probably we've got our roundtable of us recording at that In-N-Out Burger right after the premiere with myself, Mitch, Les David, and Laird Malamud. It's a bit spoilery, but now it's sort of we started off non-spoilery, and then we opened the floodgates. So we've got that, and then right after that will be our roundtable with myself, Mitch, Indiana Mick, and Jerry Ordway when we saw it on opening day at. So we might cover the same information, but from a different perspective. So that's coming out, and then our next episode after that will be just a one-off because I don't want to get it buried in there. Will be my interview with John Rhys-Davies. And then we keep going with that. And then Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure is our next. I think we're recording on this week. So our next episode will be, I think it's going to be on Return of the Jedi. And given it's a 40th anniversary, and that means we don't have to do a lot of research because that is ingrained in us. It's more the hardest thing with that our show is coming up with our opening little gag. What are we going to do? How is Mitch going to die on screen, or is it going to be me this time, or what are we going to do? So
sure.
We'll see what happens. The hardest thing is actually trying to remember what my password is to my laptop because I haven't used it in such a long time. Hopefully I can still remember all that sort of stuff.
I'm optimistic you'll be able to get the dust off of it and use your Indiana Jones sleuthing to figure that out. Well, Ed, again, thank you so much for coming back on Coffee with Kenobi, and congratulations again on an incredible and successful experience.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all your, help behind the scenes and your advice and everything like that with helping me get to the opening as well. It's been so much appreciated as your friendship as well. So thank you.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.